It's a long while we have not made a video. So each time you don't see me appearing is because I'm still looking for nice stuff to talk about. So today we have one special one. We have this Leica O series reissue. It is a remake of the pre-production model made in year 2000 to 2002. So when Oscar Banach made the first Leica for himself, and at that time Germany was at war, and the microscope sale were not doing too well. At that time, the owner of the company, Dr. Ernst Leitz II, had a problem. He said, if I do nothing, I have to close shop, and everybody got to find a new job. Then he remembered Oscar Banach's small camera. And he said, okay, we will risk it. We will make and sell this camera. So to do that, they make about 20 or so pre-production model, what we call the now series, 0 series. And make it, show it to the professionals and get their feedback. And then that became the precursor to the actual production model, the Leica 1 in 1925. So this one is a remake in year 2000 to commemorate 75 years of one of the Leica's anniversary. So they make this reissue of the old series. They took the original camera, which they still have, and have the drawings, and they make it to the same dimension as the original camera. So they build it in every detail and put a lens and put a modern coating to it, and so we have this camera. Now, to fully get the impact of this camera is like the beginning of Leica. So many things are not what we know today to be very simple. There was no two shutter curtain. There was only one single shutter curtain. So after exposure, there is a little cap that you got to cap on the lens before you wind. Otherwise, the light will go in. And there's a very quirky way of setting the shutter speed. The shutter speed can only be changed when you half wind the film. Then you can change the speed. And once you're wound, you cannot change the speed. So it's a very slow working camera. Everything is deliberate. The loading of the film, the composition, shutter speed, aperture, focusing is all very deliberate. It's like trying to load the old style lead shotgun. First, you got to melt the lead and make it into a little ball. Then you got to stuff the gunpowder into the barrel and put the lead shot, then aim, fire, bang. And then you got to repeat the process, very slow. But that was how it started. And it's like having to rebuild the original Wright brothers aeroplane. I mean, that was the first aeroplane that worked and went. But of course, nobody will want to sit in the remake of the Wright brothers plane. I mean, you might not come out alive. But this is not an aeroplane. This is a camera. So if you're willing to put yourself through all these steps, you are actually walking back into the history. So you have all this, and of course, you have the manual, give you some details on how to use it. And so there's no shutter speed in the dial here. These numbers represent the gap of the curtain. So the shorter the gap is the longer exposure. The longer the gap is the slower exposure. So that is the shutter speed. So there's a scale here that gives you the equivalent exposure. So this long gap is the slowest speed beside B is 120, and it goes up to 1/500. Okay, so here we have the actual camera. Nice box. Then of course they give you a little template to cut the film, because it's no hinge back, so the film leader has to be trimmed longer than normal. So you trim the film back, and then of course you have a handcrafted leather case. So nice leather. The camera itself got no strap, so you rely on this case for the strap. So you can take this out. Yeah. So we have camera. We have the case. So lens is a collapsible design. So to use, you pull out. And then lock it in. That's it. And then the loading is on the bottom. Bottom loading. So you got to take out spool. So you trim the leader, fit into the spool and slot it in. So you got the viewfinder here. This one you put at about a foot away. You can see a cross wire, and you can see the framing, how you can frame the picture. So this is the lens cap. Gonna cover the lens, so you take it off. It's attached together, so you won't lose it. So you got the focusing scale. You got the aperture. This is the aperture. So you wind on, and this is the frame counter. So when all is right, you compose, you focus, then you click. Now I have clicked, and before I wind on, I have to cover this. Cover this, then I wind so that it won't get exposed again the second time. Then when I take a picture, pull it out. So it's very slow and deliberate, but that was how it started. So this one, if you own one of these cameras, you're actually owning the piece of history. Then this is the forerunner of all the Leicas to come. And this lens is made to the same optical design, but being a modern remake, they put modern coating on it, so you get good pictures. Images will be good. The only thing is it's slow to use. Okay, got to cap it. Then if you want to change the speed, you have to turn halfway, then you can push down, and then you change the speed. So it's a little bit quirky. Not a camera you want to use every day, but nevertheless, this is how Leica started. So this is a remake. The original one was sold under the hammer for 14.4 million euro. This one is an official reissue, so it doesn't cost that much. So I think in the going price for this is about 12,000. You can get it for about 12,000 Malaysian money. So here you go, Leica O series.
Wow, thank you very much. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bye-bye.